Hi there. So next update, I think this is part 4, but I'm not positive. And in this video, I'm going to try to include all of the stuff of getting the beds filled, that whole process. So part 1 of this part of the project was putting down some weed barrier fabric just in the pathways. My goal is to hopefully put gravel on top of here. We'll see. I may do mulch, but I didn't want to be fighting weeds from the get-go, or grass. This is going on what was part of the lawn. So this will help buy me some time, suppress the grass that's currently here, but it is definitely starting to wake up this time of year. And what I did, I found on Amazon, the brand that I wanted is one that's recommended by someone I follow on YouTube. Their channel is called Garden Answer. They always have wonderful information and advice. I trust what they say. She said in the few places that they use a weed barrier, they use the DeWitt Pro Series. And I found this on Amazon. And I knew I needed at least maybe 100 feet. I knew that these pathways were going to be around 3 feet wide, maybe a little bit wider. So I originally was looking at 4-foot fabric because this space is, like I said, a smidge over 3 feet. And this walkway I was planning to leave be a little bit wider, around 4 feet. So I thought if I could get a 4-foot fabric, that should be perfect, and would only need one layer everywhere. I could only find rolls of like either a very small amount or 250 feet. So what I decided was probably the most economical was to get a 3-foot roll that was 200 feet wide or long, and I would just overlap here. And even with a 4-foot roll, I realized I was gonna have to probably overlap in this part because 4-foot would have just reached the edges. Sorry, sniffles. And so what we've done to try to minimize a couple of things, one being how many landscape staples I needed. We have tucked fabric underneath the edges here of all of the beds. And that way the beds will help hold down on these edges. If later I find that it's kind of pulling out from underneath there, I'll go get some staples. But I don't have a lot of staples right now, and I didn't want to go get them. And I also knew that when I use landscape staples based on last year's bed that I built, I was going to have at least a couple that this ends up happening. That when I step on the staple, it bends because it hits a rock, and then it won't go in straight at all no matter what I do. And so then I have to just pull it out. And so I think just with I don't know how many staples I ended up with in here, maybe 15 at the most, I janked up at least 3. So knowing that, and then I ended up leaving one in here that's kind of janked, but that particular spot I had already janked up 2 right here, so I just scooshed it down and folded it over. It's mostly in the ground. So what this allowed, by tucking it under the edges of all of the beds, I still have a really good amount of overlap. There's probably at least a foot of overlapping fabric everywhere, if not wider. And so that minimized, I only have to put staples like here where all of these pieces are overlapping. And I intentionally have the shorter pieces tucked underneath these long pieces because I don't want to be tripping over these short pieces while we're getting things put together. And then I only had to put staples like every couple feet along these 16-foot walkways. And so what did I end up with? Like 5 staples, I think, on each of the 16-foot walkways, and 3 here. So 13 staples, which is fantastic because I didn't have a lot more than that left in my box. So for today, that is the main piece of the puzzle. I did the other day, I don't remember if I videoed this, come out with my level, and the beds are not going to probably be perfectly leveled. There is some slope here. It's much less slope than the one I built last year. That one I had to raise the end up like a whole nother, I think, 8 inches to try to get things level. And this, the ground slopes a little bit this way and a little bit this way. So to try to minimize the unlevelness, I have on some of these corners where the slope is, I've added a piece of 2x4. That just raises it up about 1.5 inches. I had to do that kind of on this end at both ends, and also I had to do it, I may have to add a little bit more down at this end to get level this way. This probably comes in just a smidge. I think on this one it may be bows just a smidge, but for a homemade garden with no formal plan other than pictures that I saw online, and I kind of figured out basically what I thought I would need, I feel like this is hopefully going to be pretty good. I did put bracing in 3 spots on the 2 longer ones because I know dirt, once we get this filled with dirt, because these boards are, I think, 10 inches tall. Yeah, 10 inches tall. So that's 20 inches. And I will probably fill it as close to the top as we can get. So that's going to be a lot of dirt, a lot of weight. It will push. And these are just connected here with pocket screws and 2x4s that are straddling where they're connected. I need to probably come over here. Let me see if I can get the camera so you can see. I did put screws on both sides to help hold this. So depending, that should be, enough to hold things together. If I need to, I can add more on the outside. But I think it's going to be good. So we'll find out more tomorrow when we hopefully start filling these up with dirt. Hey, it's time to fill up the beds with dirt. On that bed, took me about a half an hour using my buggy attached to my lawnmower to bring it back and forth. My neighbor is now helping me. He has a awesome tractor with a bucket. He, in one load with his bucket, moved about as much as I did in a half an hour. So we're going to get these guys filled up, and I'll show you when we're done. It's been a very productive about 3 hours. My neighbor is one of the best humans I know. Let me show you what all we got done. Look at this. All the beds have dirt all the way to the top. His tractor and bucket, way better than me, my Gorilla cart, and a little 2-gallon Ace bucket. Let me show you. So, yes, I feel like this bed might be a tiny bit crooked. There's nothing I can do about it. I do feel like it's stable. It's just homemade. This right here, I did not get a chance to redo that board. So what I'm going to do, just to help make sure that that doesn't pull apart, because right now it's really only held together with 2 pocket hole screws. I'm going to go get some 6-inch deck screws and come at it from this side. And I'm probably going to do that on both sides, just to really make sure that's good and stable on all of these, because that's how they're all constructed. But for the most part, I think this looks great. We even were able to get dirt around the edges so that I can, just mow and don't have to worry about getting out a weed eater. Plus, this gives me more planting space. And so my plan for this is to plant a lot of the flowers, or plant a lot of flowers that will draw and attract pollinators, but will also hopefully attract the bugs that might want to get in and mess with my plants, but instead will be more attracted by these flowers. I think they're called trap plants. So, and that's a very common thing with vegetable gardens, to plant things like marigolds or nasturtium or calendula, which I have seeds for all of those. So I think this is still going to be a lovely addition to the yard. I was a little concerned at first, but this was really the only place that I had to put a garden that would be still close to the house to be able to access it easily and access a hose to water. But it's like right next to my cottage garden over here that I've been working on the last couple years. But I think, as I thought more about it, putting flowers and things all around, it's still going to just be a beautiful space. It'll be almost an extension of the cottage garden. In fact, I think there's an opportunity over here in particular, maybe on some of the corners, to maybe even put some kind of like a hydrangea, one of my favorites, or something along those lines to help even more blend it in with the cottage garden. So there we have it. Part I don't remember. I'll put it in the title of building my new vegetable garden. And that's the most recent update. The next thing will be to construct or to put up fencing all the way around the top. I've got some special wire fencing and constructing a couple of doors. I think what I'm going to do is put a door here and then on the other side, so there'll be a door on this side here and a door on that side there, I think. I don't know. It won't be a big deal to move this little bit of dirt that's currently in front of the other two openings if I decide I need 4 doors. And I guess that's it. I'm going to get some gravel to go on the inside, I think. I do have some bags of mulch that I ordered from a fundraiser the local baseball team was doing. So I may just throw mulch down, but I like the idea of the gravel better. I think it looks nicer, and I think it'll walk on easier. So anyways, next up is fencing, putting gravel or mulch, and to start planting. I'm actually going to plant some things in here in the next couple of days. I've got a ton of onions that are ready to be planted outside, and maybe even some broccoli. I got to check on that. So thanks for joining me here today in Aunt Susan's garden.